Health Ministry denies procurement corruption as Mulligan's investigations reveal. President Barrow's advisor says Issa Fall is a wrong man to run for the presidency. And World Food Program gives emergency assistance to windstorm victims. This and more coming on Gambia 24. Hello and good evening. You're watching Gambia 24 News Bulletin with me, Mariama Cham. Thanks for joining us. And now the news in detail. The Ministry of Health has denied any irregularity in the procurement of medical items, including 10 ambulances. This reaction came on Tuesday in response to news by online site Mulligan stating that the ministry might have wasted up to $90 million from a procurement transaction. Amanda has the rest of that.
The Gambia Health Ministry last year struck a $3.9 million deal with a Turkey-based company for the purchase of medical items and equipment. 10 ambulances included in the procurement, each reportedly bought for $89,750, which is approximately $5 million. An investigation published on Mulligan website last week featured different sources putting the market value of such ambulances at about $60,000. According to the news report, the ministry could have saved at least $90 million for other priority areas. Other financial matters touch an alleged excess expenditure of at least $1.2 million, which is about 62.7 million Gambian dollars from the purchase and transportation of the medical items. The Health Ministry, however, debunked the report regarding the cost of the ambulances. The ministry noted that the procurement was done through the World Bank regulations, with the contract signed for the medical equipment and the transportation by both air and sea. It maintained that there was no deal with anybody or company in the award of the contract, which was signed with the TMS company. The said company was in fact the only source that could make avail and deliver the items needed at the time of the purchase, because the world prices were at its highest due to the high demand and delivery was hardly available, according to the Health Ministry. Meanwhile, the ministry assured that a swift and urgent action will be taken provided there is evidence of corruption on the matter of procurement of the health equipment. Amindao for iAfrica News.
Gambia's health ministry there denied any irregularity in the procurement of medical items, including 10 ambulances, as Mulligan news site stated otherwise. Now, the political advisor to President Adama Barrow says Issa Fall is a wrong man to run for the country's top office. Dosano told journalists on Tuesday that the political field is not all about education. He made these remarks following Mr. Fall's announcement to run for the December 4th presidential election. Amanda again reports.
News around his candidature broke in July as the 3-year mandate of the TRRC came to an end. Since then, opposing views reign on whether or not the one who spearheads the establishment of impartial historical records of human rights violation should become a politician in this transitional hour. A number of commentators have tried to persuade Mr. Fall to wait until the TRRC recommendations are delivered to the presidency. Dusanu is the latest to comment on Mr. Fall's candidature, saying the former lead counsel has his eyes on the country's top seat since the initial stage of the TRRC.
Issa Fall
we knew his mission. I can say that some people at the TRRC came and victimized themselves just because he was having a hidden agenda in mind, and also using that as a strategy to market himself. That is why he victimized those people, all in the name of wanting to become a president. What I am saying is that Issa Fall has the right as a Gambian to run for the presidency, but he is a wrong man who should be out here running for that seat.
Despite claiming to know Issa's intentions, Mr. Sano says he is disappointed with him for joining the political landscape well before the recommendations from the TRRC are implemented.
Why dina ko yegal rek ne man suma bopa ñeneen ñi ñoo disappoint why man disappoint ma.
Maybe some people are surprised, but personally I am not. Because for Issa, with all his knowledge and even worked at the United Nations, Gambians didn't know him. I never knew about him. I only came to know him thanks to President Barrow. The TRC is not even done with their work. He left and declared to contest for the presidency. That is a big disappointment to the Gambian people, because if he thinks wisely, he should have completed the work that the Gambians assigned him first, and when the citizens are satisfied with his good work, then he can later come out and do something else.
Mr. Sano urges the former lead counsel to go seek advice to know the tricks in politics.
Why luma wa ensa fa regne rightam la promo sampa political partyam.
What I want to tell Essa Fall is that it's his right to form his own political party as a Gambian, but let the Gambians watch carefully the type of person that comes out to run for the presidency. I would say or touch much for now, but all I will do right now is to welcome him and his followers in the arena of politics. I would like to tell him that politics is not TRC, it's not about the law. Politics has its own way. The belief that he has, that he is educated, is different from politics. Let him go to his advisors, let them show him how to go about politics before he thinks that he is sitting at the TRC panel.
There are 18 political parties and 6 independent candidates so far standing in the forthcoming election to vie for the presidential seat. The latest entrant to the game assured Gambians of being the best pick for the presidency over the rest. Amin Dao for iAfrica News.
President Barrow's advisor there arguing that President aspirant Essa Fall is a wrong candidate for the December 4th presidential race. Now, the Ministry of Health, through the support from the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, is conducting a standardized serological prevalence survey on the coronavirus pandemic. The survey is meant to close the gap of the lack of knowledge on COVID-19 and therefore provide appropriate scientific guidelines for the current and future pandemic. Daisy has the rest of that.
The information gained from the survey will provide critical insight into the transmission and impact of the virus in Africa and help countries to understand what factors may have influenced recent transmissions. The Director of Health Research at the Ministry of Health, Seine Sane, explains the main objectives of the survey.
And one among them is actually to have the estimate of the exposure of COVID-19 in the Gambia. The second objective that we want to accomplish is actually to determine the proportion of positive individuals that are actually asymptomatic and the negative individuals that actually are symptomatic. The third and the last objective that we want to accomplish at the end of the day is actually to determine the proportion of positive and negative individuals that reported having pre-existing medical conditions.
COVID-19 prevalence, according to Mr. Sane, is vital as it will provide effective mitigation strategies towards the virus. He revealed the areas in which the study is going to be conducted and people who are inclusive in the survey.
The target population for the study is a household member who is above the age of 5 and above, regardless of their previous exposure or previous infection with COVID-19. And those who are also resident in the country since the start of the pandemic. With also both males and female, depending on the random selection of the household members, regardless whether you are male or female. When you are selected, you are a potential participant for the study.
The Health Promotion and Education Director, Modin Jai, calls for media sensitization ahead of the study.
And we also want to urge you to use your platform or medium to inform the public about the coming of our team members in their various communities, or cabilos, or where maybe households. So that when they come, they'll be having discussions, because one, they will start with the consent.
The survey, which will commence on 1st September 2021, will last for 15 days, targeting unvaccinated individuals. Out of the 15 households that were selected in each region, one person will be selected from a household to participate in the study. with the full cooperation of the public. This study will accord participants the opportunity to know their status as far as COVID is concerned in the Gambia. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
The Health Ministry dared to conduct a standardized serological prevalence survey on the coronavirus pandemic with support from Africa CDC. Now, 31st August 1996 witnessed the birth of what is to become a historic institution for Gambian teachers, the Gambia Teachers Union Credit Cooperative Union. This year, 25 years on, with over 37,000 members, has a savings of over $644 million in its coffers and provides loans to members at interest rates cheaper than all financial institutions in the country. More in this report.
GTUCCU clocks 25 on August 31st, but not without achievements to highlight. Babukar Juve, GTUCCU General Manager and one of the masterminds behind the creation of the credit union, says they undertook a daunting task to set up the credit union, but today it has procured positive yields.
I know we took a lot of risk. That risk has paid today. Today, in 8 locations in the country, education sector workers and our members beyond the former common bond. Because we open our common bond, when we finished recruiting everybody in the education sector, we went outside. Those who are members of the credit union can go to 8 locations today and get served. But that's not where we want to stop with you. The world is moving digital. The world is moving digital, meaning our transactions need to be digitalized.
Juve says GTUCCU provides loans to teachers at a very reasonable rate, which exists nowhere in the Gambia.
We do not follow the market price when it comes to charges on loans. And take note of this, Nelson. We do not follow what the Central Bank Monetary Policy Committee declares as interest rate. It is best practice in credit union to always charge less than the market rate. And we have never charged the market rate, not to talk about compete with the market rate. We started with 1.5 when we were using our unique system. When we started with 1.5 and changed system, the charges became very high. We took the matter to the next AGM and asked our members to do something about it. It was reduced to 1.25% on the reducing balance.
Manager Juve says the interest rate was reduced to 1.25% by the membership, which becomes accommodating. Esa Sow, the Deputy Secretary General of the main body, Gambia Teachers Union, has this to say.
This occasion shows precedents of hard work. It shows precedents of dedication to duty and above all good governance and leadership by both management and staff of the GTUCCU respectively, who have over the years continued to present favorable opportunities for the general well-being of our members and teachers in particular.
The GTUCCU currently has 37,164 members, and among the services it provides includes loans, allocation of plots of land to people, provision of household furniture, and others. Formed on 31st August in 1996, GTUCCU has over $644 million in total savings, with over 503 million loans given to members and an asset account of over $628 million. Reporting for iAfrica TV, this is Omar Ahmad Toure.
The Gambia Teachers Union Credit Cooperative Union there celebrates 25 years on with over 37,000 members and over $600 million in their coffers. We will now go with a quick break and we'll be right back with the rest of the news on Gambia 24. Stay tuned.
My name is Jatumbai. I am the founder of JT's Creation. JT's is a woman-owned business that specializes in the design and production of casual wears, footwears and bags. We also engage in the recycling of plastics, wine bottles, calabash and coconut shells and transform them into elegant interior decor and accessories. I chose this type of business because there was a gap in the market for African products. So that is why I ventured into it. So I thought that if I come with the idea of recycling, I'll be able to save time and also energy, and also environmentally friendly. It have helped me, pay my school bills, my school fees. It has made me, employed girls that were saying just sitting at home, not doing anything. So at least it's a plus to me. The Turkey Fee have given me a lot of support this year because they have given me a free store at the International Trade Fair Gambia. So this alone have given me brand awareness and a lot of visibility. And also the main one is sales. Besides that, I've been attending a lot of trainings through Turkey Fee, and also they have given me the chance, ITC, to train women in upcountry on craft production. I believe that I can take a fee, and I believe that I already take a fee.
Welcome back from that break. You're still watching Gambia 24 News, and now to the rest of our stories. The worrisome trajectory of the coronavirus pandemic continues regardless of the ongoing efforts by the Ministry of Health. The outbreak of the polio virus in the country presents a more complicated situation in the aspects of disease prevention and control. Necessary reports.
After decades of hibernation of polio in the Gambia, the virus has found its way back to the small West African nation. The alert was raised following the confirmation of 2 positive cases from laboratory samples. It came at a time when the Gambia is battling with the deathless virus in the 21st century. Mbaye Njai, the senior disease surveillance of the expanding program on immunization, spoke on the similarities of the 2 viruses.
We know that polio is a disease that affects the nervous system. And then the nervous system, what results there is it ends up being weak. Weakness of the limbs and all those things. And mostly it affects people or children that are under 15 years of age. So the differences here is COVID-19 virus can affect everybody, but mainly polio also can affect everybody, but mainly we see it among children that are less than 15 years of age, and then they have signs of weakness, fever, weakness of the limbs. That's because it's affecting the nervous system. And we all know what COVID-19 is all about. It is you have fever, sneezing, coughing, and all those things. So there are some similarities, but there is a distinct difference between this one, because this one causes paralysis of the limbs, but COVID-19 does not cause any paralysis of the limbs.
He also explained the different types of poliovirus, showing that the one discovered in the Gambia is less in severity.
The virus is present in the environment, not the wild polio type, because there are a lot of questions that people are asking. It's not a wild virus type, okay? There are different types, and then the wild type has 3 strains, and type 1, type 2, and type 3. So it has been declared eradicated in the world, type 1 and type 2 and type 3, but type 1 is the wild one that is being seen currently in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Apart from these 2 countries, there is no other country in the world that is seeing the wild polio virus.
The borderless situation of the virus is self-explanatory, given the cases of health workers themselves. Haruna S. Diallo, a survivor of the coronavirus, is one among the list of frontline workers who came into contact with the coronavirus in other than the laboratory works.
What happened was I had the signs and symptoms of just typical malaria. I started seeing some joint pains, and then to an extent sore throat, and then I started having flu. So I suddenly decided, just in our main office here, among my colleagues when they are there, I said, you know what, I think I need to be tested. So I tested with a colleague, just at least to rule out if it is not COVID related. So they tested me, and then I ended up being turned to be positive.
Public health measures similar to the ones required for COVID-19 have been prescribed for the cases of polio. The Africa CDC reported that the use of plasma from recovered individuals have been used both in poliovirus and coronavirus infections. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
Now, the World Food Programme has started distributing food items and cash transfer to the affected communities of the July windstorm. The support is meant to meet the food needs of the affected families. Daisy again has the rest of that.
The windstorm that took place on 7 July has caused internal displacement and homelessness to many in the country. This has led to the death of 10 people and affected over 16,800 people in more than 10 communities across all the 7 regions in the Gambia. It is in this respect that the World Food Programme kickstarts the distributions of emergency aid to these victims. Approximately 3,875 households are expected to receive 50 kilograms of rice, and $1,350 will be given to each household for the next 3 months. In a media release, the World Food Programme representative and country director Yasiru Sumura says the cash transfer will help the affected families eat nutritious food as they recover from the crisis. Mrs. Sumura added that the assistance will prioritize households who were assessed by the National Disaster Management Agency and the Gambia Red Cross Society. The aid comes at the right time when the country is witnessing a surge in the number of COVID-19 cases. The pandemic has worsened food and nutrition security for the most vulnerable in the country. The World Food Programme, in partnership with the government of the Gambia, pledged to protect livelihoods and provide a safety net for vulnerable households. The windstorm that ravaged several communities in the Gambia is said to have been moving at an estimated speed of 80 kilometers per hour. According to the Ministry of Fisheries and Water Resources, heavy thunderstorms are expected from Wednesday afternoon towards early hours of Thursday morning, accompanied with strong windstorms, which might likely cause major destruction than 7 July. For iAfrica News, Daisy.
The report by Ndaisise on World Food Programme started distributing food items to the July 4th victims, which is meant to meet the needs of the families affected, brings us to the end of Gambia 24 News. I am your presenter, Mariama Cham. Thanks for watching and do have a good night.
Star GSM has new arrivals of home appliances with 2 years